What you're about to experience are my opinions and truths. I'm suggesting they're possibilities for you to consider, in which you can then come up with your own logical conclusions. Good day or evening to everyone out there in the decoding world. My name is Logan, and this is Decode Your Reality. And today we're going to be breaking down and decoding the imposters. You saw in the beginning with all the faces and the masks hiding in the dark. Imposters decoded. And I had put a slide up asking the question to all of you, are we being conned? I mean, that's what an imposter does. Have you ever been conned before? Some of you have. Taken for a ride, having the woolly pull over your eyes. It's kind of interesting. Some people think I'm a con artist. But that's okay. That's, everybody's entitled to their own opinion. But are we being conned as a consciousness through life and the stories that have been told and handed down to us generation after generation? Are we being conned? And that's what this whole decode is about, imposters. And it is about a show, the primary basis of this decode. Even if you haven't seen it, folks, I promise you this decode will be well worth the time you invest. Like I always say, put on a pair of headphones, get yourself strapped in. But this show, Imposters, came out on Bravo, the network Bravo, in 2017. It is currently on Netflix. So if you want to watch the show, it's a really good show. But the very reason why, I had a really good friend that suggested I watch it. I liked it, but folks, it just, as always, it just led me to this decode. And what I'm about to start with is not what I'm going to finish with. So get yourselves strapped in, folks. Here are the topics of conversation during this presentation. In the zero position, the intro, of course, what I'm doing now, I have one slide to kind of set this whole thing ablaze. Number one, we're going to talk about the con. Number two, we're going to get into the creators of the show. Number three, premier currency. You've heard me talk about currency. What is premier currency? Well, we're going to get into that. Number four, we're going to get into the con artist. The artist behind the con. Number five, Eve and the devil. Could they be con artists? Or those ideas? Number six, the God. And number seven, always like to hear, what did you see during this presentation? So keep your comments coming, folks. Keep them coming. So here's kind of the intro. This is what started it for me. This show right here called Imposters. Maybe you've seen it, maybe you haven't. If you haven't seen it, this is not going to ruin the show for you because I'm not going to go into heavy detail. I don't need to. But of course, what does the word imposter mean? And is that what's going on in our world today? And of course, a lot of television and movies are micro, and they're going to tell you what's happening in our macro. All you gotta do is pay attention. So let's get into the first topic of conversation, the con. The word is super interesting itself. Con. It's got chaos and order in there, the C and the O, and then the 14th letter, the N. But it's to swindle, to trick you, to fool you. Would you say that there are a lot of people out there that do that? What if everything out there that was really popular on the world stage, what if it was just a big con? Well, the con, I think, folks, is that people think that they're actually in control of their lives. Now, again, that's, you don't have to agree with that. It's a possibility. It's my truths and opinions. This is just why I state it in the very beginning of my videos. Make the truth your own. That little voice in your head, that owns you. And I've been supporting that over and over, and the con is thinking you have control. What's very fitting is, when you take con and you break it down in numerology, it becomes the number 15. And of course, the tarot comes in, and it's very fitting with the tarot, with the symbolism, and to me it's funny when you look at this. Con is 15, the devil card's the 15th card. Now the devil card, of course, doesn't have to be a bad card per se. We label things good or bad, but there is no such thing. Everything just is. But of course, in this sense, you can see how fitting con, the word con, and what the meaning is and what it's attached to. You can see how the tarot does its job in telling us what that means. So here's the actual show itself, Imposters, and the main characters. And I've highlighted, of course, the Israeli actress, and we're going to be talking about her in a little bit. She's been in a few different other shows. And her name in the show is called Maddie Johnson. Maddie Johnson, the main con artist, the main imposter, playing all these different roles. And I thought it was interesting. See, it's all wrapped around this 52. If you watched, my decode on how to decode your name with Francis Bacon, it's all wrapped around that 52. The 52 is so important. And, when you really look at the 52, and you realize that it's tied to my upcoming decode called Prison Planet. Because Prison Planet is 52. Again, using just the Chaldean, not deviating away and mixing and matching. Now, obviously, I'm using the Hebrew, but you see, the Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh, which is what this is right here, the God of the Bible, the ancient Israelite God of the Bible, this is in its original numerology cipher. So, of course, that's the one you want to use and to find the expressions the most. It's 17 in Chaldean, which is going to lead to the number 8, but there it is. It's 26, and, prison is 26, planet is 26. So you see what I'm seeing here, and 52 leads to the main actress in this show, who is the con artist. Some of you have bells going off now. Some of you are having aha moments. So I want to get into the creators of the show, the people that are behind the show, Imposters. Who created this show? They have so much to do with this. Keep your eyes on that 52. It's these two gentlemen right here, Paul and Adam, and these are the guys who created Imposters. And again, folks, this is just another ironclad supporting piece showing that man is being used. Because I'm telling you right now that these people are not sitting down before getting together in the back room, figuring out their numerology and their birthdays and their cards and how many days are in between, and then making a decision to come together and make movies and network shows and all that. They're not doing that. They may be doing it at some conscious levels, like, oh, we got to release a show or a movie on certain days. Yes, I can see that. But the layers I'm going to show you right here, no freaking way. They're not. Man is being used. I've shown this so many times now to support it. So just enjoy the ride. Discover your code. That's the most enjoyable part. Nonetheless, Paul and Adam, notice their birthdays. Paul, April 29th, Adam, September 3rd. Looking at the timestamp in between those 2 days on the calendar, it's 127 days, tied to the 52nd element called tellurium. Tellurium's average atomic weight is 127. 127 is the 31st prime number, but it's tied to the 52. Once again, going back to that prison plan. I have an upcoming decode. Many of you have been waiting on this decode. I appreciate your patience. There's so much content. This one's probably going to be the longest one because there's so much content that has to go into this. And I keep taking away and adding to. But how about that, folks? That the main star in the show, the main con artist, her name's linking to the 52. Now, did they consciously choose that because they knew that their birthdays were 127 days in between, leading to the 52nd element? Use your common sense and logic. Is it possible? Maybe. That is possible, that they're sitting down figuring out their birthdays and their days in between, and then they're calling and naming their characters to match that. But why? And do you think they're at that level, folks? I don't think so. Let me take it a step further and show you the support that they're not. So here are their cards, their birth cards. Paul, born on April 29th, 5 of clubs. Adam, born on September 3rd, 8 of diamonds. Let me just be really transparent. Go to the boilerplate chart for the cards of illumination. I've shown this so much. If you want these graphics, by the way, you should have them. You should be looking them up. Just send me an email, decodeyourreality@gmail.com, and I'll send them to you. But here's the boilerplate chart. You can find this online, by the way. I didn't create this. And we're going to look at April for Paul and the 29th, go all the way down here. Here it is, the 5 clubs card, and then Adam's September 3rd. Here is September, and there is the 3rd, the 8 diamonds card. So there they are. And what do you get when you take the 5 and 8 and you bring it together? You get the number 58. And as I've been showing so many times in so many different examples throughout so many different videos, in Decode Your Reality channel, it's the puppet master running the show, linking to the god of agriculture, Sirium, and Ceres, and it just goes on and on. But that 58, folks, is tied to the middle pillar in the dial pad. You can go in Kabbalah, you're going to get Doth, and it's all linked together, folks. There's no separation, none of it. You just got to be able to interpret it the right way. So how about that? These two guys creating a show called Imposters about con artists are linked to the puppet master running reality. Let's take it a step further. If you add up their cards, 5 clubs is the 18th card, 8 diamonds is the 34th card. Let's be really transparent with that. Here are the natural lineages of the cards. Again, if you want these graphics, send me an email and I'll send them to you. But the 5 clubs, zooming in here it is, the 18th card, which is Paul's card, and then Adam's card is the 8 diamonds, it's card 34. So there it is. And when you get the calculator out and you take 18 and add it to 34, you're going to get the number 50-freaking-2 again. So you see, I mean, are these guys coming together like, hey, Adam, let's do a show together because you have the 34th card in the deck and I have the 18th and it's going to lead to 52. And that's going to also match the days in between on our birth, leading to the number 52. No freaking way, folks. Not at this level. It goes right back to this. Man is being used. I won't even tell you their backgrounds either, of what ethnic backgrounds they are and where they were born. You can go look those up yourself, folks. But the handwriting's on the wall. I mean, it's pretty plain Jane to see where all this stuff leads to. How about their names in numerology? The Imposters. They create this show. Con artists. It's the number 82. And what does the 82 lead to? Lead. Saturn. And of course, there's the 207 or the 27 that's tied to Jupiter, but it's tied to 52 again, because in the string of pi, where all numbers lie, and it's a never-ending string of digits, and we're all making up the string of pi, 82 appears at the 52nd decimal. Starts at 52, occupies 52 and 53. That's going to be 105. That's the architect of the universe. But that's for another story. I showed that in my, go check out my Architect of the Universe Decoded. Great Architect of the Universe that the Masons call it 105. It's all the same, folks. There is no separation. Doesn't matter which way you want to go. All you got to know is you got to see the code. And there it is. And these two guys, again, lead to the 52 with their name numerologies as well. What do you think the odds would be on that? Well, really good when man's being used. This is going to be a slide in my upcoming Prison Planet Decode. How about Paul in this show? He was in the show called Prison Break. Think about what I'm showing you. Prison Break. Prison Planet. Do you think that's a coincidence? He was in this show called Prison Break. And, you know, we go right back to the Imposters. What does the Imposters mean? Well, it's a 37. And of course, 37 is tied to the loop. We're stuck in this loop. 37 is one of the numbers that we're stuck in. 37, 1946. Or 1937-46. 1937-46. Tied to the sun. That's our as above. And of course, the 37 is the Jack Diamonds card. That's the Jack in the box. I've been showing this so much. We're all Jacks stuck in the box. How about that, folks? What do you think the odds would be? And remember, Imposters, it starts with the letter I. I am. The I am is right there. I am. There's just no A there, but there are the two main letters. The I and the am. This show premiered on February 7th, 2017. February 7th, which is the 38th day of the year. That's tied to the Queen Diamonds and the Manchurian Candidate, which is about man being used. But the premiere, we're going to get into on that, because here is all about the premier currency. Because if you haven't figured it out yet, folks, you see February 7th can be otherwise written as 2/7, and that's 27, and 27 is tied to the word currency. So again, all these shows and music and folks, it's all currency, everything. We feed a battery. We feed a battery. Our emotions, fear and love feed the battery. And how many times do you get emotionally involved with a show that's not even real? Yet you give it your energy. You cry. You get mad. You laugh. You give it the energy. It's currency, folks. All of it. There is no separation. The card for February 7th is the 44th card in the deck, called the 5 Spades card. This is a big freaking deal card. A big deal. 5 is the busiest number. 5 is man. That's boron. It's tied to the snake. And if you notice the symbolism in that card, there's an X there with those spades. There's an X there. And if you go look at the Georgia Guidestones, that's what you're going to see. You're going to see this shape right there, by the way. But what is 44? Well, that's gold currency. See, it's not just that this show premiered on February 7th and it's linked to currency right there. But no, you see the card on February 7th is the 5 Spades card, which is the 44th card in the deck, and 44 is gold currency. Let's be really transparent. The 5 Spades card, here it is. 44th card in the deck, just so we can be really transparent. Want to have everything out in the open for all of you. But there it is. And it's linked to the imposters, the con artists. It's linked to this card, folks. This is so heavy right here. There's the X. This is Georgia Guidestones right there, by the way, but that's for a different story. Let's get into the con artists. The con artist of the Imposters. And there she is. Maddie Johnson, the main star of the show. And she's the imposter. She plays all these different roles. I want you to think about that for a minute. Plays all these different roles in life. And she's an imposter. And again, she's that 52 linking to the prison planet. Now, when you go a step further, folks, we get into her real name. And she was born in Israel, and she can be decoded through her Hebrew or Aramaic letters. But when we decode through the Chaldean, there you see the 1111. Her name's Inbar Lavi or Lavi. I don't know if I pronounced it right. If I didn't, I apologize. But there it is, the 1111, giving to the number 22. And of course, here's where I know man could never code something like this. Remember, folks, you see, when these people get chosen, they have to go through casting. And now, granted, she actually was on the show Prison Break, I believe. So maybe she knew Paul, and they became friends. And he asked her to come on the show and be the main star in Imposters. That is possible. But are they sitting down before that and trying to figure the code out to match it up to show you what I'm going to show you right here? That's the big question mark. And that's something you're going to have to come to grips with. That's something you're going to have to decide upon. I'm not here to force it to you. That's why I say in the beginning, these are my opinions and truths. Make the truth your own. I want you to notice the number 22 matching the numerology of her name in the string of pi. It occupies 2 digits, 135 and 136. And if you get out your trusty calculator and you take 135 and 136, you're going to come up with this number right there, 271. 271 linked to Inbar Lavi, the main star of Imposters. And we go right back to the creators of the show and their days in between on the calendar. It's an anagram of that 271 with her through the string of pi. 271, 127. It's right there. You can't miss it. Now, again, folks, are these people sitting down and coding all this stuff before they get into cahoots to create all these shows? That's the question you're going to have to answer on your own. But if you're going to ask me, I'm going to tell you, no freaking way man is being used. Not at this level. We go a little bit further and we go back to that 22. And 22, of course, when you bring that into the periodic table, it's the element titanium. It can also be linked to sodium, which is linked to the salt of the earth. That's where the Christ said, ye are the salt of the earth. It's all tied to currency. Salt is. It's why it's in the ocean. Water. Currency. It's why batteries have water in them. So 22 is titanium. Titanium is tied to this number 47. And of course, 47 is tied to the ancient Israelite god that the Greeks coined called the Tetragrammaton. Keep in mind the words Washington, D.C. equals 47, White House equals 47, Georgetown, the university in Washington, D.C., that equals 47. What do you think the odds that those 3 big titles on the world stage equal the number 4? Who do you think's running Washington, D.C., folks? It ain't man. I can tell you that right now. But there it is. And, you know, when you realize that this actress is from a certain area in the world, and of course, where did the Tetragrammaton come from? The Torah. Where's the Torah from, folks? You got to use your common sense and logic. And again, that's not putting anything down. I want to make that perfectly clear. I'm not being anti anything. I'm not putting anybody down. I'm being in the very dead center, neutral. I don't really care. I'm an observer of the code. I'm showing you how the code works. Not giving any energy, putting anybody down, no defamations, none of that stuff. Being really crystal clear and transparent on that. These people are being used. And that's it. That's the bottom line. We're all being used. So we're all in this together, folks. Doesn't matter if you're an actor, actress, fireman, policeman, carpenter, you're playing out your role. That's your code. So let's get into Eve and the devil. Imposters, maybe. Con artists. Well, not only was this actress on The Imposters and the main star of the show, she was also on the show Lucifer. And they're coming out with season 5. This is the very reason why I'm including this in this decode. I've decoded Lucifer a few times. If you haven't seen my decode on Lucifer Part 2, folks, I completely broke down that show. And I showed you how men and women are being used. Absolutely, there's not even a room for debate on it in my eyes. But again, you got to make the truth your own. But I supported it with ironclad, convincing evidence. There's no other way to slice and dice it to try to make any other sense other than man and women are being used to express the code. So this actress, she not only was just a character on the show, but she played Eve. Of all characters. Now, I want you to think about this and what I'm kind of linking all this to. Because where did the story of Adam and Eve come from? I'm going to back right up. Where did it come from, folks? Where did that story come from? Okay? And where did this guy come from? That character. And where did that character come from? You got to use your common sense and logic. Then you see how when these people are put in these positions. A lot goes into casting, folks. It's not just like, oh, we're just going to pick you. There's a lot of people that go out there and they try to get these roles. So nonetheless, this actress, who was the main star of Imposters, playing a con artist, she played Eve on the show Lucifer. And of course, the original sinner. And of course, when she came on the show, she wanted to get back with Lucifer. They were in a relationship. And this is the episode where her debut was on the show. It was this episode called, O Ye of Little Faith, Father. It was season 4, I think it was. Or maybe it was season 2. I don't remember what episode it was. But folks, the clues in this are right here. You see, it aired, this is when she first showed up on the show, on May 8th. Of course, May 8th is Taurus. Taurus is the ox. Ox is tied to the bi-bull because the bi means 2, which is the 2 horns, and bull is Taurus. Are you seeing how the code is working here, folks? It's all connected. Of course, what is the card for May 8th? Well, it's, this is where the comical part comes in. It just gets funny now. It's the Jack Diamonds card, May 8th. Let's be really transparent. Go right to the card. And here's May, and we go down to the 8, and there it is, the Jack Diamond. Of all cards, it's the freaking 37th card in the deck, tied to the time loop, 1937-46. That's the loop in pi, the only one of its kind, 1937-46, which includes the sun and moon, the Ark of the Covenant. There it is, the Jack Diamonds, 37. Jack and Jill stuck in the box. Jack and Jill went up a hill. Jill. And then you get into, and remember, folks, the day of, Imposters itself, the show, the word Imposters equals the number 37. How about that? This is not even the same show. It's a separate show airing on a separate date. Yet, as fate would have it, as the code would express itself, it's the Jack Diamonds card 37, and that is tied to the word Imposters, which is the show she was on as the main con artist. She's playing Eve in this show. Think about the connections and what I'm showing here. Here are Tom John Ellis, who plays Lucifer. That's his real name. And the actress that plays Eve. Here are their birthdays. Tom John Ellis, 11/17/1978. And hers is 10/27/1986. When you do the numerology, the total numerology is the freaking yin yang. They were a couple. Male, female. The original sinner. You know the story. There it is. A perfect example. How about their names in numerology? I forgot about this one. How about their names in numerology? Their birth names now, not their actor and actress's names, their birth names. Thomas John Ellis, Inbar, Lavi is freaking gold, as in gold currency. Didn't we show that? Gold currency. And, that's why gold is 196, because there's the yin yang. The one is the ruler of the yin yang, or the 96. 196. Gold is called Aurum. Aurum is 19. 19 is the sun. The sun is known as gold. Sun is the architect with the moon. That's our as above. Gold. And, then you go right back, and now we want to find the lead now, because it's turning lead into gold. That's the reincarnation process. So you go right back to the first episode that she premiered on, O ye of little faith, Father, and you do the numerology on that one. Notice, and I just pulled this, look at this, out of 10 stars, it's just happens to be, and of course as fate would have it, I didn't do this on purpose. I just pulled this before I even did it, but when I was decoding the numerology, I was like, wow, there it is. And some of you have had these synchronicities. It's called the synchronicity, not a coincidence. 9.2 stars, 92. Here it is. Here's the numerology of the episode that Eve debuts in the show Lucifer. It's 92. And of course, going into the string of pi, look at where the 92 is. It appears with the 42. The 42 appears at the 92nd and 93rd decimal digit of pi. 92 is the beginning point. You go right to the periodic table. What's the 42 tied to? The element molybdenum. What does molybdenum mean? It means lead. It comes from the word molybdos in the Greek. It means lead. Let's be really transparent with that, by the way. I'm going to go right to the periodic table, and I'm going to look at molybdenum. Here it is. And the clues, of course, there's, this is a big clue right here. But the average is 95.95. That's tied to Americium, and that's one half of the I am. That's how I know the architect just comes down here and becomes man and women. But here it is. It means lead. Molybdos means lead. 42 is in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. That's life in the universe and everything. Of course, it's tied to reincarnation. The words reincarnation equal 42. The word coincidence equals 42. The word reincarnation equals 42. Think about what I'm showing you here. And this actress debuts on a show, Lucifer, who made her sin, and it leads to the 92 in the string of pi, leading to the 42. And of course, molybdenum means lead. Lead into gold. There is the lead into gold right there, folks. You can't miss it. A lot of these shows are all wrapped around currency. Anytime you see 44, it's currency. 4 is tied to the heart chakra. 44 is just the owner of the 4. 44. But how about that, folks? And let's go a little bit step further. I showed this on my social media page. Let me break this down and narrate it for you. This is extremely important. Extremely important. And to show you once again that man and women could never code this kind of stuff ever in a million years. Sure, they could be doing some stuff. Some of us are doing that now. But not at the level, folks. There's just too many moving parts, too many people that would have to be involved in the conspiracy. That's why they have secret societies for a reason. They're not secret anymore. But look at the prime numbers tied to the number itself. The number 401, 79th prime number. That's tied to gold. Now we want to find the lead, which is molybdenum. Well, the number 181 is the 42nd prime number. Going right over to the trusty calculator, what is 181 plus the 401? 582. And it leads us right to the magic square of Saturn. There's the symbol sitting in the middle. And what is the 3 numbers that it encases? The 2, the 5, and the 8. Which, if you look at your calculator or dial pad, that's the middle pillar. That's the androgynous earth pillar. 2, 5, and 8, and 0 mean earth. That is homeostasis. That is where we get Homo sapiens from. That is pH balance on the scale of acid to alkaline. It's right there. And this is what we're being mined and harvested for. We're lead and we are turning to gold. Going back to the sun gives to the moon gives to the earth. It's a complete cycle. It's the water cycle. Show that in my decode on Angel Falls. I got more coming out with that just to extend on that, folks. Just to solidify in case that didn't do it for you. But all of that, all of what I just previously showed you led me to this right here, which is the GOD. And whatever it is that you believe to be the GOD. But here it is, folks. You see, on season number 5 in the show Lucifer, that's already come out. They actually separated it from A to B, part A and part B. It's this actor right here who plays the GOD. He comes down. I haven't watched it yet, so I can't tell you too much other than I just decoded the actor himself, Dennis. Of course, he was on 24, played the president on 24 with Kiefer Sutherland. Man, there was so many nuggets in that show. I mean, think about it. The show's called 24 hours in a day. 24 is tied to our chromosomes, the X chromosomes. Folks, it's all tied together, tied to the 4 faces in theology. There's no separation, none, zero, zilcho. This is the guy they chose. And if you go read the story on how they casted him, it's really interesting. And it had nothing to do with them sitting down, figuring out, well, your name is this in numerology. And, now I know they're probably not going to tell you that up front, but, the story that they told and how they got this guy to cast, is pretty interesting. But this is the guy they chose to play Lucifer's father, the GOD. It's Dennis Haysbert. Dennis Dexter Haysbert. It is his full name in numerology on his birth certificate, from what I found. And look at what it equals, folks. 71. Of course, 71 is giving all its energy to the number 8. That's 1/2 of the 88. 88 is the 4-leaf clover tied to the Taurus fields. But it's tied to the 71st element called lutetium. And of course, this guy they casted to play the GOD in Lucifer. And it was Lucifer's father. His name, numerology, ends up linking to the 71st element, and it's called lutetium. What's the abbreviation for lutetium? Lu. And who is he a father of? Lucifer. Do you think they were sitting down with Chaldean numerology and then saying, well, it's tied to the elements too, and well, you're going to be Lucifer's father, and your name is 71, so we're going to cast you for the role? Do you think they were doing that consciously? That, again, is something you will have to decide. When you look at the number 71 itself tied to his name numerology, it's the 20th prime number. And of course, 20 is linked to the word duality, which is what he came down into. Duality. To become God in man's form. And, when you look at the bio of Dennis Haysbert, I mean, again, he was on 24. He's been on a lot. I first saw him in the movie Major League. He played Pedro Serrano, if you've seen that. But that's when I first recognized Dennis Haysbert. He was in the movie Heat, which is one of my favorite movies, Robert De Niro. But notice he was born on June 1st, 1954. 54 is tied to the sun, earth, and moon. Go watch my Angel Falls decode. That is the trinity of our reality. But those are subtleties. But the June 1st, it's really interesting because it's tied to this guy right here, Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman also has the same exact birthday. Not the same year, but the same month and day. What do you think? And folks, how many times has Morgan Freeman played the GOD? Use your common sense and logic. Same birthdays. Now you go right back, and what's interesting about Dennis Haysbert, is that he was a huge influence for the Allstate Insurance Company with that deep voice of his, that awesome voice he has. And I want you to notice the founding date of Allstate Insurance. April 17th, otherwise known as 417. And then you go right back down to this element right here. And the atomic weight or mass of lutetium, it's an anagram. April 17th, 417. There's the 174 or 417. It's right there. And you go right back to his name numerology of 71 tied to lutetium. Again, folks, do you think man is coding this? Do you think they chose him for the Allstate company because it was founded on April 17th and the people that brought him in, that signed the contract, knew he was tied to this element lutetium? And that's the reason why they casted him to become Lucifer's father. Do you think that's possible? I'll leave that up to you, folks. But nonetheless, June 1st was his birthday. And here is the card for the June 1st. Let me go right to the chart just so we can be really transparent. Here it is. June 1st is the 3 Spades card. 3 Spades, of course, leads to the 3 of Swords. The 3 of Swords, when you go into the tarot, let me just show you that. It means heartbreak. Look at the symbology of this and look at what card number it is. How many times have we been showing that? See how it keeps popping up, folks, and how man's not coding this. You know, different layers, but nonetheless, they're all going to lead to the same source because man's being used to operate the code. They're not in control of it. Just playing out the code, but there it is. 3 Spades. 42nd card in the deck, leading us right back to that element, molybdenum. Remember, it means lead. And what does he come down into? Physical matter, to become man, to play out God in man form. I mean, you can see the code. You can see it. And, you go right back up to her first episode, her debut as Eve, and it leads to that 42 through the title of the show and the episode she came in. I mean, folks, look at these syncs. There is no way man is coding this. It's not possible. Man is being used to express the code. That's it. So just enjoy the ride. Discover your code. Why are you here? Most of you do not know why you're here. You don't know all your strengths and weaknesses. You don't know your instruction manual. So again, Dennis has the 3 of Spades card. Well, of course, so does Morgan Freeman. And what I want to point out to all of you is you go right to the chart. Now, this is, if you haven't seen this chart, again, if you want these graphics, just send me an email and I'll send them to you. decodeyourreality@gmail.com. I showed in the bat quarter decoded, and this is there's an upside down cross here, and there's the 3 Spades. It's in the heart of the cross. It's right there. And it's in the Saturn line. Saturn-Jupiter line, actually, the father-son, which leads to the 45 or 54. But nonetheless, folks, there's a lot of significance to this being in that position. It's more advanced, but I could show so much more to solidify this, that man's never coding this. When you add all these layers in, it just decreases the chances of man ever being able to code this. So again, Morgan Freeman, how many times has he played God? Bruce Almighty, which is what he's right here. He's been wrapped around the whole God thing quite a bit in a lot of the movies and shows he's done, including this one right here. The Story of God. There's like 3 seasons of this. I watched a few of them. It's really interesting. And there's no separation. That's why you can go to all the churches. Walk inside, you'll see all the symbolism in there. So when you kind of scrape away everything, realize that it doesn't matter. It's all going to lead to the same origin. All of it. So just enjoy the ride. Just discover the code. That's why when you get into sacred geometry and Taurus fields, and that's why I'm going out there and I'm joining forces with Santos and company and the Syncretism Society, because these guys are bringing back the real truths on how things truly work. Not all this hand-me-down plagiarism, and there's no such thing as that anyway, but, taking a story and just watering it down, and, they're all connected to the same thing. All of it. So you just got to know the machinations of how it works. And, here's Morgan Freeman. Here's more proof, folks. I mean, again, he plays God in Bruce Almighty, and then he's the narrator, the contact guy of the story of God. I mean, look at what his name equals in numerology. The freaking 52 going right back to that prison planet again. Them playing God. So it's just really interesting. 52. And of course, Saturn and Lead are going to have some kind of say in this. So the original release date of this show, of course, I'm always going to look. If you're a decoder and you're decoding things, you should always look at the founding dates, the release dates, and sometimes there are several. The days in between on the calendar. There's a lot of ways to actually be a decoder and go through all these layers. But when you connect more than one layers and you realize that man could never code this, that's where you're going to get your keys and you're going to start to find more and more things. This is a prime example. The original release date of this show, called The Story of God by Morgan Freeman, who has played God in television and movies, is April 3rd. And April 3rd, of course, in going to the cards of illumination, here's the boilerplate chart. April 3rd is the 5 spades card number 44. There it is. Tied to the release date of The Story of God. Talking about all the religions, he goes to all the different ones. They're all wrapped up in it. It's like the wardrobe of the God. And there it is. It's the 5 spades, and it's the 44th card linked to gold currency. Linked to the element ruthenium, which is tied to the 101, which is tied to the whole. Tied to Alice in Wonderland. Folks, it just goes so deep. But it's the architect coming down here into this reality and becoming man and playing out the code through all of us. The 5 spades card in the tarot is this card called the 5 of swords. Depending on how you observe it, 54 or 55. Notice there are 2 master numbers, 44 and 55. 55, of course, is tied to iron, which is tied to the number 26. Let me just show you that. You go to the periodic table, folks, 55 now, and you go to the element iron, which is what our blood has in it. If you don't have iron in your blood, you wouldn't be living. There it is. There's the 55 tied to the 26. Then you go right back to the prison planet, and there's the 26 right there. You can't miss these things. 26 tied to the element iron. Tied to this card right here, because it's the 55th card, 54 and 55. It would be xenon and cesium and iron. So many different ways to look at it, but when you can see the code, folks, if you've been doing your homework, if you've been following this great research, doing your research on your own, realizing that this is the way the code is, there's no fudging the code. The code is the way it is. Everything that gets built now just gets attached to the code that was written into the script before we ever came out into this world. This card right here says it all. Of course, April 3rd, 43, that's the spider card in the medicine deck, the spider's web that we're all in, tied to Yaldabaoth. Yaldabaoth has a lot of say in all this. But that 55, this card right here, folks, it ends with this right here, because this is a big card on the world stage. It's tied to the 4 diamonds. I want to just digress, and this is my last slide, so if you've made it this far, congratulations. Thanks for sticking with me. Those of you that are serious about decoding and the cards, let me just show you the 5 spades in the configuration of these 2 charts. This, if you're new to this is the Master Life spread and then the Master Spirit spread. This is ground 0. This is the chart for the number 0. When everything starts, this is the ego, this is the spirit. And when you look at the spirit first, here's the 5 spades card right there. It's in position number 72. It's on position number, it's in row number 7 and row number 2, 72. And then if you go over here and you find the same card, it's the 30th card in the deck, the 4 diamonds card, tied to the rabbit card. Also in position 72. Row 7, row 2, 72. If you take 72 and you add 72, you're going to get the number 144, tied to the 144,000. See, folks, it's all tied to the code. There's no separation. That's why none of these cards are demonic. The tarot cards are not demonic. They're not satanic. Everything just is. Scrape away all that dogma and propaganda. It's what you use with the Force. That's why Star Wars said it. You whether you work for Team Darth Vader or Team Yoda, how do you want to use the Force? The Force is one. There it is. And of course, 5 spades is 44 and 4 diamonds is the 30th card. If you take 44 and you add it to the number 30, you're going to get the number 74. 74, which is the God. But I want to end on this note right here, folks. And, this is kind of very fitting. And it relates to, if you're a fan of theology, Isaiah 45:7. And it's 45 for a reason, because that's the Pandora's box that we're in. 45 is rhodium. Pandora's box is 45. That's why it's Isaiah 45:7, where it says, I create good and evil, both. It's duality. It's called the demiurge for a reason. Demi meaning 2. And it leads to this card right here. And the actual day of the story of God, the release date, the original release date, April 3rd. And when you look at the keywords of this card right here, it's all related to the 5 of Swords. Notice the symbology of this. You have 2 people that have turned their backs. They've thrown their swords down and they're like, man, I don't want to play your game anymore. And this character is like collecting the swords. He's got a smirk on his face like, ha ha, you guys are just sore losers. That's the symbology of this card. And of course it has the V there. V is 22. 22 is tied to titanium and the tetragrammaton again. You got to notice the subtleties there, folks. And when you look at these keywords, you will see how the game of life works. And the one we call the God, it's all of this. And it's this. It's no win. Surrendering, because there's nothing you can do about it. It's the bully. It's intimidation. It's forcefulness. It's aggressive. It likes war. It likes abuse, hostility, stress. Looking out for number 1, the ego. That's what this whole thing means. All of it. Trickery, deceit, con artists, imposters, mercenary, crime, violence. It's all of that, folks. And then you have the other side, which is all the beautiful side. It's both. Can't be any other way. Because we live in a world of duality down here. It's cyclical. It gets good and then it gets better and then it gets bad. And then it gets good and then it gets better and then it gets bad. And it just goes on and on. And that is how it works down here. And it's run by the God. And there's nothing you or I can do about that. Just to remember that. All you can do is play out your part. That's it. So the best thing you can do is know your code. Discover who you are and what your code is and what the architect is using to deliver through the expressions of what your life's all about. That's what it's all about, folks. So what is it that you saw during this presentation? I'd love to hear what you saw, each and every one of you. I always love to hear your comments, folks, on this Imposters Decode. So a lot of information, folks, a lot. And I'd love to hear your comments on this. So that's all I got for today, folks. My name is Logan. This is Decode Your Reality, and I thank each and every one of you for your support, your donations, your Patreons. Those of you who want to get a reading, send me an email. Folks, I appreciate everything. So until next time, folks, we will see you later.